Uchiyama. Never was the most popular animator and is someone I've given my fair share of criticism of a few hundred times. But maybe a year or two ago, a stack of his original corrections he made for this scene by Naotoshi Shida surfaced online, and I was genuinely impressed for the most part by his adjustments. So let's start this year off with a short breakdown and some Uchiyama positivity. I never thought I would say that. Now, I will preface this also by saying there is a thing called the Doga stage. Whenever I post Gengar, I see so many comments berating Uchiyama for removing the detail, without realizing the detail isn't actually removed, well, most of the time, and whatever isn't adjusted in a correction will be left over. And then a Doga artist will trace and combine those drawings together on a separate sheet of paper. I also see comments like, why did he correct Shida? But the truth is, while Shida's animation is great, and was already pretty distinctive to many of the other Dragon Ball staff only a few years into his career, the actual drawing quality was a bit off at times early on. Now, of course, over the years he definitely improved, but like take this one from the Namek arc. I remember seeing a lot of comments when I posted it saying, why was this corrected? And it does look cool at first, I do like it. But you can quickly notice Goku's out of proportion chest with this kind of mini peck on the left and the big right one. The nose sits down a little bit too low and the traps are way too thin for a Super Saiyan transformation, and in proportion to the other muscles, so it did need some small adjustments. The actual problem though is his execution, which leaves much to be desired. Uchiyama is a bit plain when it comes to anatomical shape design, much less refined than Shida's. Anyways, to the actual scene of today though, from Dragon Ball episode 137, not to get too sidetracked. Now the first one kind of forces me to start off with some slight Uchiyama negativity, which I didn't plan, trust me, and it will be the one nitpick I'll repeat a few times in this video, and that is the face. While I like how Uchiyama makes her eyes a bit prettier with the lashes, he draws them in this kind of downward arc and enlarges the pupils, he does take out some of the expressivity in them. You can see with the shape of Shida's eyes, they're more pointed instead of, I guess, the more longer and open look, which is technically more on model. That is Uchiyama's job as an animation director, but I still personally prefer the original. Uchiyama also makes the ears a bit too big, however he does add some more depth to the mouth by adding teeth and like the black shading. The hand adjustment though is pretty good. Shida did draw the hands a little flat, it's kind of like there's no joints in the middle, so good fix there. However, he kind of removes the cool foreshortening Shida had going on with the hand, and there's also the principle of overlap by layering up different body parts or whatever. It gives an impression of depth, which he also takes away. Uchiyama also accidentally creates a small inconsistency by drawing these long pointy nails, but doesn't on the other hand. Anyways, that isn't the main thing I want to talk about here. This is. Now, I know at first it's like, why did he break the leg? What's he doing? He made it worse. But as I'm sure many regular viewers of this channel have heard me say before, breaking joints is a common animation fundamental that you can find all across Western and Japanese animation, and of no surprise you could see in Dragon Ball Z and even Daima's top animators recently do to add more dynamism or to loosen up an action. Like just a few cuts later actually, you can see that approach with Chi-Chi's forearm like snapped right back. I don't have the original drawings for this one, so I'm unsure if that was a Uchiyama addition or Shida's intention from the get-go. But yeah, put simply, nothing new. It's also a good example of how to give depth just by changing the angle of something. Shida's, while fine, was pretty flat. This leg here was also a bit thin compared to the other one. Again, good fix there by Uchiyama. It is interesting as well to actually like zoom into this because you can actually still see a lot of Shida's construction lines left in. The big balls for the joints, the way he's simplified the pelvis, the rectangular box anatomy for the upper body. For some it might be like, who cares, but as an artist I find it pretty interesting to see the thought process behind it all. Next one, and I know some might be like with this one, not again Uchiyama, but let's break this down. So first of all, love the adjustment to the leg. Shida's is a bit rigid, a lot of straights, but Uchiyama brings this nice curve here, then another big one again, much better flow. Same with the hair as well. Nice adjustment with the hand. It was a bit of a flat angle, but Uchiyama brings more dimension by tilting it this way. More dimension to the chest as well by having the creases curve under. Same with Goku, he fixes the shoulder proportions. Shida drew that maybe a little too small. Like the shape design to the arm, straight to curve. The lower portion of the arm was fine already, but whatever. Shirt creases, they're more realistic because, when you move your shoulder out, there will be like this sort of tension point up around here. So the creases would look more like, well, how Uchiyama has drawn them, curving down. For the head, the ear matches the perspective better. When on this angle, you'll usually see this kind of little shape behind the earlobe. Unsure what the anatomical name is. Goku's head is also a bit oval shaped. Shida almost had the Ebisawa watermelon head going on. Again, nice fixes. Next one, I kind of wish Uchiyama left the faces alone, but he does add some more depth and volume in areas with the undershirt. Shida originally draws this kind of flat half circle, but Uchiyama shows it wrapping around. Goku's hand is a bit stubby and short in proportion to the other one. Uchiyama W'd there. Better leg posture, add some bend to it. Some slightly more complex hand poses by Uchiyama on Chi-Chi. This one, don't have much to say because half of Uchiyama's drawing is cropped out. Although I do think the way Shida drew faces was better, so RIP to some of the expressivity there. Again, much like before, fixes hand posing, actually adds bend to them fingers. Better silhouette with Chi-Chi, you can see how much more clear that is. Although personally, I do like the way Shida draws Goku's pants and hair. It's very on point to the manga. I don't know why Uchiyama changed that, he kind of made the hair a bit worse. Now this one I really like. Uchiyama adds all this foreshortening to the arm, so much more dynamic. The forearm is maybe a little wide compared to the upper part, but I respect the vision. He also does the same with the leg, brings it out, adds some curvature, and adds some dimension. You can see how Shida has drawn the shoe and, kind of how small it is. But Uchiyama is like, nope, add the sole, gets rid of the flatness, enlarge the proportions, and create a clear separation between the bottom and top part. For Goku, arms are a bit stubby, fixes that. Again, adds depth to the undershirt. Don't know about the wide-ass waist he gave Chi-Chi, looks a bit bloated there. It's even a bit inconsistent with how he drew her before. Now there was this picture which gives us a glimpse at a few drawings I haven't shown, although there's not much to say other than Uchiyama really had a thing for giving Chi-Chi long nails, so good for him I guess. So I've talked a lot about specific details from a drawing point of view, but when you chuck all these things in the pot, stronger silhouettes, bending limbs, redrawing poses, from an animation standpoint, in how something actually moves, I personally think Uchiyama's adjustments actually loosen up what could have been a slightly stiffer scene if left untouched. And although some of the adjustments to the face, as I said, do leave me on the fence, in context, this is a scene all about fairly detailed movement, minus some of the looping, so it isn't as crucial, say, to a scene like this in the Namek arc, which is essentially just a still drawing, and so in this case, yeah, the adjustments to the face kind of do have a direct effect on the scene, because it's driven by character art rather than actual animation. But back to this, as great as Shida would be in drawing highly muscular biceps later in his career, like I said at the start, he was still pretty fresh at this point. And many years ago, he mentioned how important Uchiyama was as a teacher to him, and hopefully this little analysis shed some light on how he might have actually done that. I think it is taken for granted how important Uchiyama would have been for Shida as a beginner animator. Like, he obviously couldn't just pull up a YouTube video on animation fundamentals like spacing and timing, how to lay out an action scene, or just how to fill out a timesheet. A lot of that information, if not all, would have been passed down through Uchiyama, and that goes for many other Dragon Ball animators. And so while he, does make me sad whenever I see a new set of corrected Shida Genga surface online, or of Taiichiro Ohara's, although kind of a mixed bag with him, he could get a bit carried away at times. The qualities of a supervisor from the aspect of a teacher and mentor is one I think very overlooked by fans. On a side note, thinking about it now, I am curious as to actually how much of an input Uchiyama could have had on arguably Shida's most famous scene on OG Dragon Ball. Of course, the Goku vs Krillin one. I mean, it's pretty clear the faces are definitely redrawn, but after seeing this set, I wouldn't be surprised if he modified a lot of the poses. So he is hoping that one day those corrections will appear online. But anyways, thank you for watching. This was meant to release either December 24th or 25th last year, as a bit of a thank you video for all the support on the last Diamond one. But as you might have gathered, it didn't get done in time before my vacation, so here it is now. But with that, thanks for watching, please give like, and thank you to my patrons, and I'll see you later.
Let me take you to Keiko's.